Hi, I'm Russell America Shahriz in here with another episode of Dark Theory USA. Uh, so many things are happening, especially in the Middle East. I wanted to talk about a couple of the stuff that's happening. One of them is, if I'm not mistaken, based on the unofficial narrative, the media outlet, the news sources, um, Hamas said they're ready to have the peace deal, 5 years ceasefire with Israel, and also they would return all of the hostages. So I don't know how much of it it's going to be acceptable for the Israel or if for the America. They are fine, of course, with the part that they can get the hostages back, which as an American, I want to get. I think we have one American hostage over there, so we have to take them back as soon as possible. But about the part like 5 years of the truce or ceasefire is something that I'm not sure if they're going to accept that. Apparently, based on that unconfirmed source, Hamas accepted to not be militia anymore, but still be part of the government, like have a governmental role without being in the military. So we have to see what happens over there. Also, one other thing that happens, Waltz got got fired, basically, if I'm going to be honest with you. That he was directly in the national security for United States, and he was the first person, I guess, every day was briefing Trump, and he was one of those hawkish member of this cabinet that was very against Iran, and basically they were saying he was one of those, because the cabinet was divided between two people like Tulsi, Pete Hegseth, even though I don't believe that, but let's say Pete Hegseth and JD Vance, who is venture capitalist. They didn't want to have the fight with Iran. They said we have to give another chance to have the negotiation, maybe we can have peace deal. And JD Vance's reasoning was very reasonable, because if you think about that, he said two things. One of them was when it came to the signal message leaking. Actually, the main reason that they are saying is getting resolved. He is getting another position in UN. Basically, it's resign. Like in the soccer play, as a soccer player, I know that when you are in the soccer team, they don't kick you out of the team, but they say, for example, if you are in with the adult team, they say you have to go practice with the youth. This means basically you're out. Go look for another team. So they don't say get out of this team, but the way they don't let you to practice with the people at your age. If you're adult, they let you go with your age, and they say go practice with the youth team. Means basically you don't have any part in that team. But anyway, something like that. So when you get the position in the UN, probably you're just gonna go there and just gonna take the hawkish take, but UN is just kind of like a circus at this point. Nobody listens. Like UN couldn't stop Israel Hamas war, or stop it, or prevent it, or at least stop it. Same for the Russia-Ukraine. And even if China attack Taiwan, nothing gonna happen. So I don't think that's really in many things that UN at this point in this time of the year can do it. So probably over there is just the position to just not be kicked out, be fired directly. And also, like, some people, they are happy about that. They say somebody should have been fired because of those messages leaked, including me. And some people, they say that anyway, firing somebody from the cabinet after only 100 days, it is sign of the weakness. I don't buy that entirely. I said you have to fire whenever you think somebody is not proficient and is not doing their job. Basically, JD Vance was saying when we were attacking Houthis, he was saying only 3% of our cargo or ships are going through that strait, Hormuz Strait, if I'm not mistaken, Suez Canal, if I'm not mistaken. It's only 3% is going through there, so it is not our fault. I already, in one other episode, I talk in detail about the messages leaked and the signal. He said that why should we risk everything for that. And Pete Hegseth actually said, I agree, I understand where you're coming from, I understand your point, and really it is not necessary for us to bomb them right now. It's not essential. We can wait. But he said in order to be the one in the charge over there, we have to do it. If we don't do that, Israel gonna do that, and then we're gonna be dragged. But in here, basically, we are in charge. We say where to attack, where not to attack. But if Israel dragged us, then we have to only listen to it because they do something that we have to just support them, which is another issue. Why another country can do whatever they want, and we have to just follow their lead, while America is leader of the world, which is kind of like we are sending the signal of weakness, because eventually people gonna say, well, okay, who am I dealing with the United States or Israel? Because even if something that United States approves, if Israel doesn't approve, eventually we say miraculously American politicians is gonna start to oppose that. But anyway, that's not what I'm gonna talk about. That anyway, Mike Waltz got basically fired, got a position in the UN, which is basically one of the worst jobs you can get. What's going on is, like, while the JD Vance, Pete Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard, or even Elon Musk, even though he wasn't in that leaked message around the signal, but these people, they were against like attacking because they said there will be a spike in the oil prices and it's gonna make it very expensive and market gonna react to it, and it is against the promises that we made to our voters. So basically it's not aligned with our agenda, with our slogan. But when it came, and also they were saying like maybe we have to give another chance to Iran for nuclear talk, and Mark Waltz and Mark Rubio and maybe a couple of others, they were like saying, even the CIA, I guess, CIA director was kind of like, they are more hawkish, you know. They were, I don't know if they are as hawkish as Tom Cotton and Lindsey Graham, but it's it. So what happened is, it is the very serious move because we don't know exactly what's going to happen. And is it that move because Mike Waltz was taking the direction to the point that a war with Iran would be inevitable, and Trump wanted to prevent that? So I don't know that part. But I know on the other hand, America, like President Trump, actually, I saw his Truth Social, and then so they posted on X. They said basically, President Trump said, any country that buys oil from Iran, they're gonna be faced with sanction, and that's something really crazy. Any drop of oil bought from Iran, you're gonna be secondary sanction or something like that. Why is it crazy? Because right now Iran and America, they are talking, they are negotiating, and the negotiation is to lift the sanction so they would be more transparent, to prove that, to show that they are not making nuclear bombs. So Iran prove that they are not making nuclear bomb and let have full transparency. But on the other hand, basically, United States gonna lift the sanction. But what is going on right now is while they are in the middle of the conversation, like, it's really contradicting signal. And this is what they are saying, this is President Trump tactic. Of course, he tries to, as he's approaching to you peacefully, he wants to basically stick and carrots. As he's showing the carrots, he's going to bring the sticks, and this is one of the, but I think that was deeper than that. And the reason that I think that is because normally in last 3 weeks, it was like every Saturday, that was a meeting that was between Iran and United States. In one of them was Oman, second one Rome in Italy, and then again Oman, and again this week Saturday was supposed to be in Italy again, but it was cancelled. So maybe it has something to do with it. Like, it was cancelled, and President Trump put the sanction on any country that buy one drop of oil from Iran. Now they are saying the reason is because while they are going through that, so because the first two meeting was mostly like talking about the general stuff, general topic, but for the third one they were into like into detail, and that is where it gets a little messy. And I think one of the condition was okay from the nuclear agency, they have to come and then see. They had a couple of questions that wasn't answered because the last time they blocked all the road to let the Europe and the Grossi, actually Rafael Grossi, comes and then see that if they are making enrichment of uranium, if it is more than 3.6% or not. The thing is, basically, how to put it that, they were blocked. I don't know if they were not even allowed to come to Iran, but they were saying, oh, our satellites got a couple of pictures that you were in, they had a couple of a little enrichment in this area that you were not supposed to. Can you explain or let us go and check it out? And Iran didn't. It happened after that President Trump in his first term got out of the deal. So but right now they don't allow that. So I don't know exactly. For example, Iran said nothing has happened. Why do you want to come and have full transparency? You are not giving me any points. You are not giving me anything, any leverage. Like basically, you want me to have transparency while we haven't agreed on anything already. Which, if that's the case, I could understand where they are coming from. But still, for that reason, President Trump put a sanction on any country buy oil from Iran, and also they stopped that. Of course, the excuse was Oman was trying to, because even though it is in Italy, but still it's going to be in embassy of Oman. But Oman allegedly said that they were not ready to have that meeting for them to make it. But it's not. I don't think that was the case. The case was because Rafael Grossi was saying to United States, they don't allow me to go there and they don't answer my question. So for that reason, United States is taking tough step, and they're gonna react tough to let them know that they are not joking. So, but we have to see. But both of America hasn't reacted to it, because Oman, I think Busaidi, I don't know what's his name, the guy who was in charge of these meetings, he put it on his social media, and Iran said that that was the reason, because they couldn't find any place to host a meeting, which I don't think it's very hardest thing to do. Okay, let me go with the Persian news, and then I will tell you what's going on.
وزارت امور خارجه با اشاره به اینکه قرار بود این دو از گفتگوها روز شنبه 13 اردیبهشت در برگزار شود گفت تحقیق گفتگوها به پیشنهاد وزیر امور خارجه عمان بوده و درباره تاریخ احتمالی بعدی به زودی اطلاع رسانی می‌شود. آقای اسماعیل بقایی در گفتگو با خبرنگاران با تاکید بر اراده دیپلماسی ایران برای تامین منافع و پایان تحریم‌ها خاطر نشان کرد. ایران از ابتدا با حسن نیت و جدیت مواضع اصولی خود را برای گفتگوهای معقول و پایدار نشان داده و در این مسیر ثابت قدم خواهد ماند. پیشتر بدر البوسعیدی وزیر امور خارجه عمان به عنوان واسطه گفتگوهای غیر مستقیم ایران و آمریکا در فضای مجازی از تعویق گفتگوها به علت لوجستیکی یا همان پشتیبانی خبر داد و نوشت تاریخ جدید گفتگوها پس از توافق دو جانبه اعلام خواهد شد.
So basically it's saying Iran said we are committed to this negotiation. It is just a problem because they couldn't get everything ready to be host for Iran and America. And then whenever they both sides agree on the like another date, we're gonna let everyone knows about that. Okay.
خب در این باره صحبت می‌کنم با خانم شوبیری خبرنگار حوزه بین الملل خبرگزاری صدا و سیما که اینجا در استودیو با ما همراه هست. خانم شوبیری برای این به تعویق افتادن مذاکرات بین ایران و آمریکا کارشناسان دلایل مختلفی رو میارن، اما منابع غربی گفتن که اختلاف در درون هیئت حاکمه آمریکا باعث شده که این دور از مذاکرات به تعویق بیفته. از این اختلافات در واقع منظور چی هست؟ توضیح میدید؟
خانم خلجی، تقریبا از ساعت 5:30 عصر که نوشته وزیر خارجه عمان در صفحه شخصی خودش منتشر شد تا الان خبرنگارانی که به طور ویژه اخبار مذاکرات رو پوشش میدن با خبرهای زیادی روبرو بودن و ساعات پرکاری رو پشت سر گذاشتن. خب اول که آقای بوسعیدی شما اشاره کردید که اعلام کرد که به تغییر در واقع رسیدن درباره زمان گفتگوها و اعلام هم کردن که به محض اینکه مشخص بشه کی خواهد بود باز هم به صورت
So far nothing, just talking about that it has been so many news and people are talking about that and they're gonna update us for another date. Okay.
رسمی بله اعلام میشه و خب ایران هم اعتماد کاملی به عمان داره، مدیریت این مذاکرات با عمانی ها هست و خب منتظر ببینه نتیجه گفتگوی دو طرفه عمانی ها چه خواهد بود با در واقع هم این طرف ایرانی هم با طرف آمریکایی و نهایتا اعلام بشه. این رو هم من اشاره بکنم خانم خلجی، خب تقریبا از 4-5 روز گذشته خبرهایی بود که ممکنه 2 تا شنبه فاصله بیفته بین مذاکرات، یعنی به جای اینکه 1 هفته فاصله باشه 2 هفته باشه. این هم وجود داشت، ولی شما اشاره کردید به اختلافات. نکته جالبی که در چند ساعت گذشته ما شاهدش بودیم این بود که دقیقاً همزمان با انتشار خبر تغییر زمان مذاکرات خبر اومد که در دستگاه حاکمیتی آمریکا اتفاقاتی افتاده. به طور مشخص مشاور امنیت ملی آمریکا که خب جایگاه مهمی هم هست در دستگاه حاکمیتی آمریکا اخراج شد به همراه معاون خودش آقای والتز، شخصیتی که
So basically she's saying already it was a rumor that it's going to be instead of every week it's going to be every other week for the meeting, so probably because they're going to prolong that so they have more time to talk about that because they're talking with the experts, they're talking about the issues in detail. It probably would take a longer time. So at the same time the news was out that Mike Waltz basically was fired.
معروفه که مواضع ضد ایرانی داره، مواضع ضد اوکراین داره، تاثیر گذاشته روی روند مذاکرات آمریکا با اوکراین با ایران. و یک خبر دیگه این بود که آقای ویتکاف در واقع کسی که مسئول پرونده هسته‌ای ایران هست، در واقع مسئول پرونده هسته‌ای مذاکرات با ایران هست، از طرف آمریکایی‌ها ممکنه جایگزین آقای والتز بشه. ببینید وقتی اینها رو کنار هم میگذاریم به نظر میرسه خود کاخ سفید ساعات پر التهابی رو پشت سر گذاشته و همین هم میتونه سایه انداخته باشه بر روی مذاکرات. ولی خب خانم خلجی یک نکته مهم هم هست، اینکه به هر حال هستند گروه‌های مختلفی که فشار میارن بر آمریکایی‌ها، چه نیروهای داخلی خودشون چه از خارج از آمریکا، مثلا بله به درستی اشاره کردید مثل رژیم صهیونیستی، میتونه اینها هم تاثیر بذاره بر مواضع آمریکایی‌ها در مذاکرات، میتونه تغییر موضع ایجاد بکنه برای اونها، بعید نیست. ولی خب یک چیزی که برای من جالبه به عنوان یک خبرنگار و در واقع رصد که میکنم، یک صدای واحد از ایران شنیده میشه و این هست که خواستش در این مذاکرات مشخصه، هیچ وقت از پای میز مذاکره بلند نشده و یک کلیدواژه پرتکرار این هست که در واقع ایران میخواد که لغو تحریم ها رو داشته باشه و در نتیجه این مذاکرات منفعت اقتصادی ایجاد بکنه. خب این روشن بودن تکلیف ایران همزمان با اینکه در واقع سیاست خارجی در حوزه‌های مختلف داره جلو میبره هم وجود داشته و حالا اینکه مشخصا از اون سمت چه اتفاقی میفته به نظر میرسه که برای دستگاه سیاست خارجی ما تاثیر نداره. این رو هم بگم که گمان زنی‌هایی در بین خبرنگاران هست که ممکنه هفته آینده یا 2 هفته آینده بعضی تاریخ‌ها هم اعلام میشه که این مذاکرات بله به صورت رسمی مشخص.
متشکرم، ممنونم از توضیحات شما خانم شبیری، خبرنگار حوزه بین‌الملل خبر.
All right, so it says Mike Waltz was out plus his assistant. I didn't know that. I thought only Waltz was fired or repositioned, if you want to say that. And also they were saying like probably Witkov, the person who is in charge of Arakchi and Witkov, they are talking with each other indirectly, he says he's gonna get his position. I don't know if it is true or not. I heard that from them. So probably Witkov gonna get his position and say, well, Iran is determined to continue this negotiation, and the purpose is to make sure like those sanctions are lifted off. So they were saying like they are determined if there's any problem is because like there is civil war inside President Trump cabinet. All right, and then let's see what Charlie Kirk has to say.
Kirk.com, and we love hearing from you. And actually, I want to provoke your response today because I'm infinitely curious, actually, of how you think and how you feel about the topic at hand. The breaking news, of course, is the National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz, is out. He is gone. Now, the National Security Advisor is a non-Senate confirmed position. The National Security Advisor exists as the top national security point of contact between the President and what is called the NSC, the National Security Council. The National Security Council partially is housed actually in the White House, but mostly is actually in the Eisenhower Executive Office building, which is technically on White House grounds. It's that ugly, monolithic, big building right next to the White House. Michael Waltz, being the National Security Advisor, he did last longer than Michael Flynn, but of course Michael Flynn was taken out by our own government. Now, there's always been...
Listen, being National Security Advisor is something big. Like, it's not like, who cares? Like, if you are fired from being National Security Advisor, it means something big is going on. Basically, there are 10 people that are most important one around Trump, and he was one of them. And when the moment the two things at the same time happen, National Security Advisor Waltz out to wherever he went to UN, who cares? He was out at the same time Trump put the sanction on any country buys oil from Iran, and Iran at the same day was going to the China to continue their relationship in the BRICS. And last but not least, the fourth meeting between Iran, Witkoff and Araghchi, was delayed, postponed. So it is impossible. He just got out for no reason, or at least this chain series of events happening. Mike Waltz out, sanction on oil, BRICS, postponing the meeting. They're all related to each other. So you are naive if you think they are unrelated. Anyway.
Been, let's just say, upheaval when it comes to the national security position. When it comes to President Trump, famously, he had H.R. McMaster or John Bolton. President Trump likes to put people in that role that are sometimes more hawkish, more aggressive than he is, as a way of kind of a negotiating tactic. Is that when you walk into a room with John Bolton with Iran, they think, my goodness, that guy's a lunatic, he might bomb us. And President Trump can kind of use that as let's just say, a leveraging tactic, as a negotiating tool. Now, understand, the national security advisor is one of the first faces the president sees every single morning when it comes from a work context. Every morning, the president receives his daily briefing. The person who administers that daily briefing is the national security advisor. So all night into the early hours of the morning, the National Security Council is compiling, let's just say, 5 to 6 bullet points what the president needs to know. Here's what's happening in Iran, here's what's happening in Russia, here's the threats from China, here's what's happening in cyber. The National Security Advisor puts all of that together, goes straight up to the president after he consolidates what is the hub of the National Security Council, and presents to the president. Mr. President, here's what's going on. Here's your daily, confidential, classified, presidential briefing. Now, that person needs to get very along very well with the president. That person needs to have a good vibe and a good energy with the president because they spend a lot of time together. Now, Mike Waltz, of course, famously added Jeffrey Goldberg to the Signal chat. The Signal chat, of course, is one thing that was probably one of the more annoying developments of this administration so far. Mike Waltz added the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic. We never got a really good answer of how that happened. One of the excuses was, well, he saved his contacts with Jeffrey Goldberg, and then he wasn't sure who he was adding and why he was there and what was going on. And it's just, we're not exactly completely.
Well, actually, to be fair, we all wanted Mike Waltz to be out. Besides that, his hawkish takes that was ruining, sabotaging the intentionally or unintentionally the peace talk, and somehow he was dragging us to the wall. Besides that, because the main reason that those signal messages was leaked was because accidentally he added somebody else into the group chat. So but we needed those accountability. If you remember in the previous episode, I was talking about that, why Trump gets C-. One of the one of the things that I listed about get negative points for this administration, his President Trump administration in his first 100 days, was just no accountability for the signal leak. So, I mean, for me, it's a win-win. I take it, because win for less hawkish in his cabinet around him, especially as Kirk said, brief him every day. And two is basically, so next one would be more careful to not added somebody by mistake to the group chat, somebody who hates Trump's guts. So sooner or later there should have been accountability.
Clear, or let's just say, let's start why that happened. Now, Mike Waltz, after the attacks that happened in Yemen, the Houthi attacks, he famously sent the knuckle and emoji with the American flag and the fire symbol. Now, Mike Waltz and I had a fine relationship. He knew that we had significant disagreements, and that's what I really want to emphasize and mention here, is that Mike Waltz and his deputy Alex Wong represented a neoconservative view of foreign policy. Now, what is a neoconservative view of foreign policy? Well, neoconservatism is actually a outgrowth of Marxism from the 1940s and 50s, which it is a Trotskyite Stalinist way of viewing the world, which is that we are going to expand the state to such great lengths, and we're going to bring American values by force to the rest of the world. The architects of the Iraq War, the architects of the Vietnam War. Mind you, yesterday was the 50-year anniversary of the fall of Saigon. Neoconservatives brought us into Vietnam, and so it is actually very fitting that a neoconservative falls the day after Saigon fell 50 years ago. Something to think about. And so there's a major internal battle happening, and it is manifested with this Mike Waltz, Alex Wong situation. Overall, this is a positive development for President Trump's administration. Mike Waltz knows that I don't see eye to eye with him on many things. I've said that to him in his face. Nothing personal. I just don't think we should go to war with Iran. And that is actually what I want your emails today. I'm going to read them all. I might not respond to them all, but I'm going to read them all. You are representative of the conservative base. You are in the front lines of the MAGA movement. Do you support military strikes against Iran if they are developing a nuclear bomb? It's a very important question, because war with Iran, of course, is what Tom Cotton and Lindsey Graham want. They wanted that forever. But what is instead being proposed is, well, what if we just do limited airstrikes? You got to also just take a step back. Wait a second. Why are we trusting our intel agencies so quickly? We've only been in charge for 101 or 102 days. We're all of a sudden going to trust the buy and hold of our intel agencies that are telling us Iran is close to a nuclear weapon after they have lied to us at every single corner and every turn. The battle is over Iran, and there are people in Washington, inside the Pentagon, and inside the administration who want to launch military strikes on Iran. Often they say, be easy, just one strike in and out. Now, pause. How often have they actually been correct about the one in and out thing? Has that ever actually been the case? Oh yeah, we're just going to do some strikes in Libya. Oh really? Libya has been a catastrophe. Libya has been a disaster ever since we removed Gaddafi. By the way, Gaddafi is a really interesting example as to why Iran wants nuclear weapons. Remember, Gaddafi voluntarily denuclearized. Remember that? Gaddafi voluntarily denuclearized and he got sodomized in the streets of Libya. And we still have troops in Libya. And here's the honest truth. America cannot and absolutely does not and cannot afford a war with Iran. Military strikes against Iran would be war against Iran, period. And I want someone to make the argument why that is a good idea. I've heard all the arguments, and Mike Waltz represented a coalition of people in Washington, D.C. that were largely sympathetic to, oh, it's just a couple military strikes. Again, when have any of these people ever proven that it's just a couple military strikes? It's always a further quagmire that gets us involved in these unnecessarily conflicts. And then finally, let's just take a step back. Iran, of course, the Ayatollahs of Iran are terrible. Nobody likes them. You must remember they're only in power because of America, because of us. We put them in power. We displaced the Shah. We displaced the democratically elected leader Mossadegh and put in the Shah, which then, of course, led to the Ayatollahs of Iran. And then finally, is a nuclear weapon against Iran a threat to America? Probably. Could be. A threat to Israel, but is it a threat to America? I mean, India has nuclear weapons. Pakistan has nuclear weapons. So is it worth a potential another war with Iran? And the people that are, let's just say, advocates for preventing Iran from getting a nuclear weapon by all means necessary, they're the same architects that were perfectly fine with the Iraq War, the same designers of the Iraq War. The primary way Iran can hurt this country is by sucking us into another Middle East quagmire, and they know it. And Iran would have the potential to be the worst Middle East quagmire of all time. Iran has 90 million people. That's more than 3 times as big as Iraq was when we invaded 22 years ago. It's larger than both Afghanistan and Iraq combined, both in population and in area. Iraq was at least mostly a flat country. It's a bunch of cities along a couple rivers, Tigris and Euphrates. Iran isn't like that. It's almost all mountains. Iran has spent decades preparing specifically for war with the United States. Their military has lots of weapons designed for fighting a much stronger adversary. They have a lot of drones, a lot of speedboats, a lot of cheap, expendable weapons. They're far more formidable than Iraq or the Taliban were. And I seriously want your thoughts. Email me freedom@charliekirk.com. Would you say it's a good idea to use military force to strike potential Iranian nuclear targets? My whole life I've been told that Iran is getting a bomb. Iran is getting a bomb. Iran is getting a bomb. Iran is getting a nuclear bomb. And yet here in 2025 they do not have a nuclear bomb. So why should we trust the American intelligence without verifying it? Now the other side of the argument is, kind of, Iran is this big threat. The same people that told us that Iraq was a big threat. The same people that told us that Taliban was a big threat. I'll be honest, fine. I mean, I don't like Iran, but the evidence shows that every single one of these people, the last couple of decades, that is pushing for a conflict with Iran, has not just failed miserably, has been one of the greatest catastrophes in American foreign policy ever. Thousands of lives needlessly lost of Americans, millions of people displaced, trillions of dollars spent. And let's be honest, at this particular moment, we cannot afford this war. We are economically vulnerable. There is massive
I'm not going to interrupt that. I'm going to let him speak all of it, and then I will give my take.
de-dollarization happening. We're trying a difficult manufacturing pivot with tariffs. We've seen the rise of the Chinese Communist Party. We blew our military reserves in Ukraine, and now is the time that all of a sudden we want to try to get involved in another endless conflict. Let me be clear. It will not end with just military strikes. If you strike Iran on the interior, you will have a war. That is an act of war. And if that's what you want, that's fine. Make your case. If you're a homeowner, you need to listen to this. When's the last time you checked on your to do the same thing? Pakistan has nuclear weapons. And Pakistan harbored bin Laden. Russia could do the same thing. We're firing weapons into the interior of Russia. And so if we were to strike Iran, or if we were to support Israel to support Iran, it is very tempting to view this like it's just a game of risk. Ooh, I struck them. We won. No, that's an escalation. Is them getting a nuclear weapon good? No, we're not making an argument. No one here's making an argument. Of course not. But lots of things are bad that we shouldn't risk destroying America to stop. Let me say that again. There's lots of bad things that we should not risk destroying America to stop. And for me, this is a hard and fast red line. We did not run on war with Iran. We did not run on striking Iran. And I know the president agrees. I know the president agrees with this, which is why he's trying to actually talk to Iran. The situation we're looking at right now is invading Iran losing the global dollar. How about this? I will be more open. Here's my open challenge. I will be more open to someone striking Iran if you could tell me how their government works. Can anyone tell me how their government works? Do you know that no one actually knows how their government works? We have like a vague idea. Even Blake, the smartest person I know, he's like, yeah, we kind of have an idea, but it's really kind of strange. And you go around to DC, the people that want to strike Iran, and we're told that they're going to, they're nothing but an irrational actor. Of course they're evil. The whole show against Islam yesterday. Got it. But if you listen to the president's words on Iran, it's very telling. I want Iran to have a great future, and they have an opportunity to have a great and prosperous future. And let me just reiterate this. Reject the premise. You have to prove it to us. The neoconservatives have not earned our trust. Now, interestingly, if we were to strike Iran, it would actually strengthen Islamic fundamentalism around the world. You would think that while striking Iran actually put a step back against it. Now, the West striking the interior and the home of Shia Islam would actually only further earn our trust. Reject the premise. You have to prove it to us. The neoconservatives have not earned our trust. Now, interestingly, if we were to strike Iran, it would actually strengthen Islamic fundamentalism around the world. You would think that while striking Iran actually put a step back against it. Now, the West striking the interior and the home of Shia Islam would actually only further terrorist attacks against us in the West. It would only strengthen their resolve. And the other thing is that Iran is actually getting weaker with time, actually. We have sanctions on them. I'm not even talking about removing sanctions. The government is unpopular. We, on the Charlie Kirk Show, we get thousands of messages of young kids on the dark web, or whatever they call it, that message us on TikTok, saying, I'm not allowed to do this, but I love your videos, and we're from Persia, and we love you guys. The Iranian people are becoming less Islamist. If we struck Iran, they would rally around Islam. It would give them a rallying cry. Think about it. When a country is attacked, you get blinded by everything, and then the most radical ideology is ascendant. We can and can continue weakening the government. We're bankrupting them like Trump did the first time. No one's debating any of that. And I wanted to say this. I have a heart for the Persian people. The Persian people are some of the most industrious. They're some of the hardest working. They're some of the highest IQ. But if you strike Iran, and this is my number one reason why I'm not a neoconservative, is that it's so prideful. As if you can map out every single action and have every other predictive element. Oh, if we strike them, then this will happen and this won't happen. No, it turns out that you can't predict the future. And when you drop a bunch of bombs on a country and probably murder a bunch of kids and a bunch of women, because you know what the Iranian government, they probably have a bunch of schools right next to nuclear sites, so keep that in mind, because they're not dumb. They probably built, just the way Hamas does, human shields right around these nuclear sites, and you're going to go kill a bunch of their top scientists and a bunch of their infrastructure. How do you think they're going to respond? They'll respond with an actual declaration of war. They'll close the Strait of Hormuz. They'll start kidnapping Americans, and they did that, of course, in the Munich Olympics. It's not as simple as we're just going to strike them. I'm not saying the situation is simple. This is a very, very high wire act. Incredibly so. And one of the reasons why Mike Waltz being gone is an interesting development is it's one less neoconservative that are pushing this. Now, of course, no one wants Iran to get nuclear weapons. But again, I love Israel, but let's be honest, this is more Israel pushing for Iran to get Israel weapons, not America. And that's fine. I mean, Israel should do that. Israel should advocate for its own self-defense. And I love Israel and I advocate for Israel. Israel has done a poor job, by the way, in the PR war of actually telling us why this is bad for America. So maybe they need to do a better job of that. But is that America's problem? That's a, I mean, maybe the answer is yes. Maybe the answer is, you know what, they were wrong about Iraq, they were wrong about Syria, they were wrong about Afghanistan, they were wrong about the Taliban, they were wrong about Libya, they were wrong about the Arab Spring, they were wrong about Yemen, they were wrong about the Arabian Peninsula, they were wrong about the 9/11 hijackers being Saudi Arabian, but hey, 10th time's a charm. This time we're actually right. Yeah, you're gonna have to earn our trust in this one.
All right. Okay. So basically everything that he said, I agree with. I mean, you know, I was born in Iran. I was raised and grew up in Iran. I mean, I take the compliment. He said we have high IQ. I believe that I have very high IQ, and Alhamdulillah, thank God. It's basically something like it's proven by science. But anyway, besides that, basically everything that he said is true. I mean, personally, I know everything about how the system works, and is no secret behind that. Just because people in America, they don't follow the news in Iran, which is understandable. Like, I don't have any idea what's going on in Bangladesh, how the government works, but there's no secret into it. If you really follow the news in Bangladesh, probably you're gonna have idea. You're gonna know that. People in Iran, really, they don't care that much, but it's no secret. Everybody in Iran, they know that what's up. Ordinary people, not necessarily experts. And the thing is, exactly what he says is true. If women and children die, more people gonna team up with the regime. Right now, regime is not very popular. But if you, like, for example, the explosion in the Bandar Abbas, right now, some people, they are saying, like, because, you know, some extremists in Israel, like some of those very religious ones, they started to kind of mock Iran about that. But people in Iran started to say, hey, don't do that. Like, even though so many of people who are against the regime, they like they want they like Israel for any reason, they were saying, like, still people of Iran got killed. It's not like you kill people in the regime, but you kill civilians. So they got upset. So more civilians get killed by Israel, by America, by anyone, and more people gonna get united against those under the regime. So that's not the best tactic to attack them. But again, there are so many things that we don't know that. And as he said, if we have been wrong about every other war, then how can we trust you that this time, at this time, which is we're gonna pay way heavier price, this time we're gonna trust you? And yeah, he's right, because there are so many mountains, so many different places. Iran is like a amusement park compared to Afghanistan. Was just only mountain and nothing. Iran was Iraq was just flat, as he said. But Iran is totally different story, and so many civilizations, so many empires, that even when they conquered Iran, they couldn't conquer the country sometimes. And the reason was because there's always so many places that they can hide, just like a Vietnam. Like, by military or artillery, we were super stronger. But when it came to the one-on-one, they had so many ways to, you know, hide, play hide and seek, and surprise our soldiers. The same thing is happening right now. We have so many problems back in America, back home. Especially for me, like, as a nationalist, I really want, I'm Jacksonian nationalist, let's put it in that way. Like I said, we shouldn't get engaged in any military action unless it is all right, like we have to. And let me be honest, as a nationalist, I take one American soldier's life, or anybody in the region over the whole region, whole other countries. So I care about, for me, the value of one American life is more important than entire Israel or Palestine or Iran or Iraq. It is what it is. Like, everybody should be like that. Your people should be your priority. And now we have 70,000 of our people over there. And I wouldn't take a risk. Sometimes you have to do what you have to, but it's not one of them. And as he said this time, it was actually surprising. It's one of those people that he's always in Israel. So it was kind of like surprising to me that he said, probably it is Israel war, it's not ours. Tucker Carlson also said that. So I give him credit. I'm not very big fan of him, the way that he talks about the Muslim. But I give him credit that he said that. And again, as he said, like, there's nothing against Israel or Palestine or anything. I wish the best for everybody. Well, my take is America, not only first, America only. As I said, I care about one American soldier lives over entire country, in Middle. So you have to understand. And in the second, if I wanted to care about anybody outside of United States, would be civilian in Iran. And how can we make sure like people in Iran don't die? So American people are my people. As a nationalist, they are my people. But also people in Iran, civilian, I'm not talking about the regime, civilian, women and children over there, they are my blood. Like, it is the lose-lose. And again, as he said, they are way stronger than Iraq. Yeah, of course, we can win the battle, but at what cost? Is it really necessarily like we have to do it? I don't know, but that's my take about that. So Mike Waltz is out, and we don't have the negotiation on the fourth round on this Saturday. We have to see what happens next, and then sanction against them. You know, actually, to be honest, I think the sanction against Iran was more to punish China, because now China, since those tariffs were started, now they are, because in the beginning China stopped buying oil from America from very beginning, but now because there is a war between China and America, China is buying basically more oil from Iran. So maybe it will say, oh, you are playing game with me, okay, I'll put a sanction over there. So if you buy any oil from China, then we're gonna put a sanction. So President Trump is punishing China rightfully so, and I totally support him on this tariff war. I just wish he wasn't too flexible and he didn't pause on those tariffs, and he waited until other countries folded so they could come to the table, so we could have better deal with them as a leverage. But just putting pause, maybe it works too. They have 90 days to come in here and settle things, so we have to see. But yeah, that's it, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any comment, I would be so happy to read them, and then I get the feedback from you, learn something from you. I hope I told you something that you didn't know and it was useful information. That's my take. Hopefully to see you next time. And if you buy my books, any of them, Restricted Area and Smokers, all the profits I'm gonna donate them to American children who are diagnosed with the cancer. Thanks for the support, and hope to see you next time. And like always, as above, so below.